YouTube. This is a work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal video. I'm working, I reckon it's like a brute force, you know, you repeat words over and over and you try and will yourself. So I'm trying to quit cannabis and tobacco. So I'm trying to quit cannabis and tobacco, so this is like a labour work on that problem, you know. So yeah, labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Now Clopixal is the mental health drug I'm on, and I want to get off that as well. I reckon my life would be vastly improved if I could get off that. I just feel a whole lot better, I reckon, if I could get off my mental health drug, which is not, you know, I shouldn't be on it. So, yeah, like, I'll just test the sound. Yeah, like, I'll just test the sound. Yeah, there we go. Sound's working. You can hear me. So, okay, I'm just going to basically will myself to deal with any psychological issues that about cannabis, tobacco, and Clopixal, and I'm just gonna manifest ideas in regards to cannabis and tobacco and Clopixal, and solve my thinking behind them, because it all starts with the thinking, you know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it starts with the thinking. So, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Cannabis, work, labour, cannabis, and I'm using work, labour, or labour work, as prefixes to will, to progress. I came up with the idea of progressional food the other day. I tasted some food, and it felt like it would progress my mind and body. It was like a taste sensation the food gave off, and it was like I call it progressional food. So there's some food that is progressional out there that you can actually eat and it will progress you, you know? And you can even taste it. You can taste the progression. So hunt those foods down, man. You wanna find those foods that are satisfying and progressional food, guys. Don't just eat for taste, eat for progression. Foods that will progress your body and mind. It's like they make you more complete, you know, and they advance you. They travel you further along. So, yeah. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 I'm just waiting on a summons for Steamboat, normal. I just picked up some gear. I picked up some these boots. And I picked up the boots for 115, and the ring, this ring here, it was 35. The ring was a bargain. It's a best in slot ring, I reckon. Best in slot pre-raid ring. So I picked that up for 35 gold, and the feet, and I got the feet enchanted. I hate the mats, and I paid 20 gold for the enchant for the person to do it. And so they're enchanted. That's one of my, it's pretty close to best in slot until I start raiding heroics, so that should last me a while. And I've got best in slot gloves. I got them from a drop, And I'm hunting the shoulders and steambolts and also the reputation so I can get the ammo. Get the ammo from my hunter. I'm only running small amount of, I'm running the lower class ammo at the moment. I got 32 and I got some 34 damage per second stuff from Hala. I stocked up on that. Yeah, I got to get rid of it though. I'm switching to a bow. I'd be on a bow ready if I wasn't didn't have so many bullets. I'd be on a bow ready. I've got, oh, here's my bow. There's my bow. There's my gun. There's a level 68 gun. And I've got a level 70 bow. So I just got to use this ammo up and then I'll be switching to the bow. And I'm about 1,000 rep off quiver. It's 15 to 18, I think it's either 16 or 18 slots. I think it's 16 actually. But it's 15% range attack speed. So yeah, that'll be all good. Now I need to upgrade my pet also on my hunter, so I can work on that as well. Upgrade my pet. Level 70. This is my first dungeon as a 70. I haven't played for like a week. I got really close to 70, stopped playing, hit 70, stopped playing. Got bored, I guess. Just got bored and burnt out. I leveled 2 70s from 58, 2 70s from 58 to 70. And yeah, 10 days playtime on each tune, or 11 days, almost 11 days playtime on each tune. Newbies in here, obviously. Mana. Yeah, decent upgrades. And we're talking DPS. Is there a mage? Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Hi there, viewer. I explained what I'm doing in the beginning of the video, but you probably missed it. Oh, you're gone. Sorry, you're gone. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 And it's hard doing it while playing the game, because it's taking me a little bit of practice to get good at being able to do stuff, being able to talk while playing the game. It's like it occupies all your resources when you're playing the game. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Work, labour, cannabis, cool thing items, that's what I need. I need those. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Cool thing, Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 I believe that by operating as many things as possible at the same time you get stronger, you build stronger pathways. So you're more able to, it's like you build capacity, so you're able to do it for longer and easier, it makes it easier. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Work, labour, cannabis. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
Need a target.
Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
I can't do that yet.
Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, 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 Clopixal. So we've lost our healer. Healer's gone AFK. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Where are we going to get ammo? We can put some ammo in here. That is Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 I had my last cigarette at 8:05 tonight, and it's 1:43 in the morning. So that's what, 6 hours? Yeah, coming up 6 hours? Coming up 6 hours without a cigarette. That's not bad. Work. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco. 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 Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Work, 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 labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, 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 cannabis, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, Labour, work, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
Meet your doom!
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
It's too far.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
Past that yet.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco,
For my
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
Do that
Labour,
yet.
work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Greed. Da. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
Ability isn't
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco,
past that yet.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, 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 Labour, work, cannabis,
That's the
Labour, work, cannabis, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, 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 Labour, work,
ability isn't ready yet.
Labour, work, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work,
I don't have a target.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 Labour, work, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, 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 tobacco, Clopixal.
I need to get inside.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal.
It's
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, 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 tobacco, Clopixal.
not ready yet.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. 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 La Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Where is he? Bringer of death. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Come on, money.
That's the recharge. I need a target.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Labour, work,
That's the
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco.
not ready
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco.
Cast at yet.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco.
I'm out of ammo.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco.
That's the recharge.
Labour, work, cannabis, tobacco. 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 Labour, work, cannabis, Labour, work, tobacco. Labour, tobacco. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco. Cannabis, tobacco. Work,
Ability is ready. I can do
Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco. 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 240.7. 251.8. Wow. 251.8. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco. 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 Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. Work, labour, cannabis, tobacco, Clopixal. That was my wife. That fault was I feigned deaf onto the healer, and the healer pulled the mob. I feigned deaf and the healer pulled the mob, so the healer wiped. My bad. It's cold, bro. Oh, it's cold. I need to turn the heater on. I think I need to turn the heater on. I'm working on cannabis and tobacco. Doobie doobie doo. That's an hour we've been streaming, guys. Hour 3 minutes. Hour 3 minutes. We've had one view in that whole hour 3 minutes. Test. Oh, it's pausing.